Everybody, and thanks for tuning in and welcome if you're coming back. I'm just on my way out, but I wanted to do this really quick. This is Mary Leveau, and this magazine is available right now at any store that sells magazines. It's just this right here, Religious Cults. I got it at like Walgreens down the way. So this is Mary Leveau, very famous, the Voodoo Queen. And you've heard me talk about the St. John's site. And this right here, Voodoo gathered on the banks of the Bayou St. John, where an altar was erected, drums would sound, and the Voodoo Queen would begin her dance. And soon everyone would join in. Today, St. John's Eve celebrations continue at various spots across New Orleans, still featuring the priestess who performed traditional rites to call on the spirit world. And she had a zombie, her snake, named after an African spirit, and she kept it in an alabaster cage, so they want you to know that it's alabaster. That's another clue. And she did her celebrations on St. John's Eve, one of the most important holidays on the Voodoo calendar. St. John's days are June. Well, it says on the eve. June 23rd is the eve. So June 24th is actually St. John's Day. And there's one in December, which is December 27th. Which it doesn't say that one on here. But it just says the eve, which is June 23rd. So the real St. John's Day is actually on the 24th. According to also my Masonic software that I printed out that had all their... It's unknown as to why at some point Masons dropped Solomon and adopted John the Baptist as the greatest man to have ever lived. So she was Creole. She was a free woman. She was a hairdresser. Rahimotep on 13 Signs Astrology actually talked about her once. I believe this is who he was talking about. But what she did, she died in 1881. What she did was all the aristocrats' hair in town, she would do their hair. And so she would tell them things about their lives that only, someone privileged would know. And so people say sometimes that she bribed bribed or threatened other handmaidens, servants around people's houses to give her information so that they could all work together. Other people say that she was actually doing magic. And there's a whole other theory, which is my theory, that this is probably one of the incarnations of the Black Madonna. She goes through history. She's traveled through history, making her way through. And if you check out St. John and John the Baptist and everything with the site that I am talking about, has everything to do with Pumpkinhead, which is the Headless Horseman, which is John the Baptist, and Mary Magdalene. And when it shows Mary Magdalene, she has that skull, that's the head of John the Baptist. So it's interesting that Mary Leveau may have actually been an incarnation of the Black Madonna or the Dark Girl or Mary Magdalene, Mary Gedua. The aquatic twin of John the Baptist, who was albino in the incarnation that you know her in, as Mary Gedua. Miriam, okay, with an I. Okay, and she was part Catholic. I just want to go over, because there's so many things when I read this, I was like, wow, there's a lot of things that have to go in. So she was Creole, but she was born in New Orleans in 1794. Now, if you study New Orleans and you know about the Battle of Orleans and the Battle of Do-Re-Mi with Joan of Arc against the White Rose, the Yorks of the Yorks, you got New Orleans and New York. So we have this battle kind of moving over and continuing into our modern, our contemporary that we're in right now. So, just to pull it in a little, we have a lot of stuff going on here in this town because of geographically what this town is on the earth ley lines. And so, like for instance, we have the Orchard, which is a site off of Dinuba, which is 63, another 9. Everything's 9 in this town. And because we're gate number 9. And so actually you've got 63 that takes you to the Orchard. It's a new shopping center they put in with the Target. The Target is there, which Target is the bullseye, is the Ma'at, the bull, the Hydra. Come on. One eye, get it? So, basically, they have the white and the red rose, and it's called the orchard. So the only one thing that grows in orchards, and that's apples, and it's definitely resembling an apple orchard. And we've got the Sleeping Beauty story of humanity and Ma'at, and Cinderella, Sleeping Snow White story. So, and this apple. So you've got everywhere you've got either red roses or white roses, but at this particular place you've got white and red roses, which is always around Snow White. And if you go even further down, you'll find more stuff relating to Joan of Arc, even the apartment complex, which the rumor around town is that, and I actually was there when these people were going through town, that Bone Thugs and Harmony was staying there at one point. But at this place, it's called the Burgundy House Apartments, and it has the grapes on it, and you know who helped Joan of Arc. It was the House of Burgundy. It was the Duke. So, and also we have just down the way is Mary's Vineyard. And everybody calls it Martha's Vineyard, but it's Mary's Vineyard. And it's covered in grapes. And that is the place where the McDonald's was that we saw the cars flipped over twice. And that's just me and one other person. That's not like, that's not a census of the whole town of who saw what. That's just two people on two different occasions. And I recommend, if you're watching this video, to do the Stargate Drive. I did a Stargate Drive, the drive to the Stargate. Everything is number 9. Going there in every way that you can add it up, it is number 9. And that's actually going to this gate site, which is 30, which, if you know Ma'at, is the number 30. So hopefully this helps in helping you to understand kind of what I'm bringing to light. This is obviously a voodoo site. And voodoo is actually a form of Christianity, or might actually say Christianity is a form of voodoo. And if you do not believe me, then if you're a Christian, I would encourage you to look into that. Number one, for your own self, and really, actually, if you think that you're like saving people from a religion of voodoo by bringing them into your religion, or you think you're going to go to Haiti and like convert people or help out because voodoo is written into their religion or whatever. You know, if you think that you're going to save these people, you need to research what they believe, because you cannot speak their language or even understand. I mean, how can you care if you don't know anything? That's care. That's an equation. Contact, ask questions, recommend, then encourage. Got it? So how can you help anybody if you don't know anything about them or what they believe? And this is one of the things I've had problem with the churches around this town, is they do not want to learn anything outside of the Bible because they think that is all that they need to know. And that is not true, because everything that you need to know was purposely and very meticulously taken out. And if you did not believe me, then you can check into Walter Veith's video on total onslaught, changing the word. Now that is just since King James. So, I mean, that's not even getting to like the Tyndale part of it, or anything before that, or the Council of Nicaea, or anything like that. So if you just look at how meticulously they set up the Bible to be dissected and chopped up, I mean, things left on the end to specifically be chopped. Numbers were put in there. God didn't put numbers in. He didn't even say to make that Bible. So, anyways, enough of that. Let's see. Vive, she called herself Vive Paris, or Widow Paris. Oh my gosh, she married because she had 15 children. 15 children. She wore a brilliant blue skirt and her traditionally dyed shawl from Africa, and wrapped her hair in a tignon. Louisiana law required women of African descent to wear a tignon, which is a headscarf wrapped and knotted in a turban-like fashion. So most women would like adorn them with jewels and stuff like that. So she was very, very fancy, very beautiful, and a natural healer. But most people called her a Satan-worshipping witch and a dedicated healer. So anyways, that's pretty neat. I'll just read you the quick part at the top. Far at the other end of the spectrum of faith leaders are Louisiana voodoo priestess who use their faith in spirits and ancestors to cure the sick, heal the injured, cheer the downhearted, and sometimes curse the enemy. Louisiana voodoo, sometimes called New Orleans voodoo, blends African spiritual traditions with Roman Catholic rituals and saints, along with a powerful dose of herbal medicine. Voodooists do not see conflict between Christianity and voodoo, but rather synchronicity. So, who's blind here? And And I think that is it. But that's the Voodoo Queen. I'll show it to you one more time. Thanks for tuning in. And the next one I will do, because this is really crazy. This is really crazy. This is a really interesting magazine, but very sad, actually. They have the Heaven's Gate people in here. They believe they were the two witnesses. And they had David Koresh in here. But I want to get into more of David Koresh stuff later. But they have Jim Jones in here. But I recommend, if you're into this stuff, go get this book. So you can get a little bit of a different perspective. Because this is like free thinking or fanatical. That's what the question is. So anyways, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any more information on New Orleans, the St. John the Baptist cult, the St. John's River sites, the voodoo dance, and she also danced with a snake, a great snake. So, zombie. So, yeah, if you know anything about that, you have any additional information, please feel free to add. Thanks. Have a good one. Blessed.